Let's go.
And we're here. So welcome to On the Ground Level podcast. I'm Tahyira.
And I'm Perky.
And we're with our lovely, fab Valentine's Day stars of the hour, the Bashes.
Thank you.
You guys want to introduce yourselves really quickly?
Sure, go ahead.
Let's go first. All right, hey everyone, I'm Barry Cooper, aka Coach Coop. I'm a transformational educator, one half of the Bashes, and I do a lot of work with young men of color here in the tri-state in New York City, and we have an amazing podcast and an amazing company, Life's the Bash Productions, and our podcast is Dating My Best Friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm the best friend part of that. So my name is Shantini. If you haven't figured it out, that's where we get the Bashes from. Barry and Shantini, B-A-S-H, the Bashes. I am a beauty connoisseur. I am an esthetician here in New York City. So I'm all about you loving the skin you're in. Happy V-Day to you and your skin today.
Yes.
And a beauty empowerment coach. So it's really important for me to empower women to find their beauty and their light
Very
inside
beautiful.
and out.
So that's
Thank
a good
you.
way to start.
Right.
It's like, I am my own marketing. Right? All right, cool.
Yes.
So a quick I guess I'll say intro for myself, just how I know you guys and about this topic. We're talking about love, obviously. I've always been interested about family relationships. It's always been something that's just intrigues me. I'm a humanitarian at heart. Went out to school, studied psychology, sociology. I just all feel like love is really the anchor of all the things that we're fighting. And, I've always just believed that. But I got married when I was 30 out in Los Angeles. So being married, kind of changed the way other people viewed me. And I had more, your internet is unstable. Let's make sure that we're good here. Okay. People started I didn't think getting married, I married someone who I was with for a while. I didn't think it would have an impact, but it did. Marriage in itself kind of has that in just the world. So, when I ran into you guys, I'm like, what? It's interesting to pick someone else's mind who are in similar situations, but we don't really know because a lot of people don't really talk about love anymore like that. It's like dating apps, swiping. So I wanted to bring that kind of conversation here. I run a Black mental health podcast, as well as running my own website, www.therenamediagroup.com. My Black mental health podcast is on all streaming platforms, and it's called Tahyira, Live Hangout Tahyira Keeps It Too Real. So I also talk about mental health. And I think love is a big part of, that family thing that we have in a Black community. What we're missing is why we have so much of these problems. We can't even get our businesses in order because it's I don't talk to my sister and now, I need to straighten, it's that, it's literally that. So Here we are.
So, yeah. And just a quick intro. So Perky again, Ashley, first name. I have my own podcast, Perky Perspectives. I also am the nominations director for the Black Podcasting Awards. So I see you guys got your podcast, so next year.
Funnel, I like it.
But yeah, so just everybody that's listening, support. We Black podcasters. We don't have a lot of platforms that uplift us. So shout outs to everybody here. You can go find our podcast on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all of them. And we're also going to update our Patreon. So if you want to become a patron and help support, patreon.com/4SNation. So yeah, and I do mental health too. So we all in there. This is gonna be really nice, good, loving,
like-minded. I like like-minded combos, right? Mm-hmm. Like-minded. But yeah, so enough of the interviews and all. We can just get straight into it. Like I said, I want to pick you guys' brain about how you guys met, your personal lives, how they've changed
your
since.
Computer,
your
signal is lagging a bit.
The internet, right? I don't know what happened.
Okay, so while you work on your internet, I'll ask the first question.
Okay, ask it.
So just about a little bit about your person.
Kind of sorta.
I don't know. It was such a great question. I was like, that's such a great question that we've never been asked before. I think I would say our family styles are. I think it's different. I was gonna say similar, but I think it's very different. I come from a blended family. I am the baby of a group. My father has a couple children before me, married my mom. My mom had a child before me. And so I'm the only between my parents. And I think
that's pretty unique in terms of our dynamic, because I actually think it's what helps me blend so easily with the family dynamic and structure that we've created together, because I kind of come from that, where I feel like you come, right? I'm like, that sounds like it was such a dope question. When I saw it, I was like, oh, we never even talked about that. But I come from a blend. My whole life has been blend, you know, like my siblings and things like that. I've kind of I never called them a step anything. And so I think that's definitely been a part of how easy it's been to create the fusion and the blend that we have currently with like his children and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. That you are absolutely right.
Sorry, Barry, you have children, and is this your first child?
This is our first together.
Yep.
Yeah. This is my first.
Yeah. But Chase, my daughter in particular, who you guys see the most, you couldn't tell because to Shantine's point, now that you lifted that question, you blend well, like that. Yeah, absolutely. So, to answer the question, I think that we do have different family styles. So my family was a little bit more close knit. I grew up with my mom and my dad, and we were a very close family. You dial one, things pop off, everybody's there. We were that type of clan. Very outgoing, very vocal. So my parents taught us at an early age to speak our mind, no matter what happens. So that question is amazing. Right? You got us like reflecting right now.
We never even thought about that, but I think
love great conversation.
And Shanti, I'm the only kid for both my parents too. And
what is that?
Yeah, it's a little weird. I'm the oldest, so I'm the opposite of you. I was at the beginning.
And I'm the youngest.
Cool.
So it's like I'm spoiled by my daddy, but then I'm the oldest, so you know.
And I feel like even just to kind of expound on that question, I feel like that was one of the things that was really attractive about him and his family, like just seeing that. Oh, here we go. Really attractive because I felt like, you know, like his parents just celebrated 40 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
Last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend.
The February 6th. And so it was just like, wow, to see them kind of interact, him and his sisters and his father. Like, you know, they have this kitchen round table, you know, that I just kind of like, I'm a witness because like it gets interesting. Okay. They crack jokes, they're all up in it, and so I've never really necessarily had that, so it's always so intriguing to kind of start to build a foundation with somebody who has that history. So thank you for asking that question.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm a single child from my parents, and my dad has another daughter. She's in Trinidad, right? So it's like my husband is like he has tons of brothers and sisters. He's Dominican. It's like everything is like, oh, my sister. I'm like, how many sisters did you have? So to me, it's just like, girl, I don't have time for friends because I have all these sisters now. I saw you didn't call me late. It's like, girl, but it's fun. Like that's what made me like, nah, I want this. It's different, you know. So I'd like to hear, you know, you guys say that too. It's kind of like something real for those of us who are dating still. It's something to think about, maybe. Like, you know, maybe you don't like them, but you like their family. Like, you know, right? Like, you don't like the family. Right? All right, we can move on to the next one. I ask you guys, did you know you wanted to be married when you were like dating, or not even meant to say dating, like when you were younger, like a kid, like starting dating, right? Like I'm dating, I want to be with someone else, right? Was marriage always on that line? And so, if yes, what was the
disclaimer? Everybody thinks that we're married.
We are not married.
We're not married.
We are engaged. We're engaged.
But we're not married. So, but I'm happy that we get that off.
Absolutely.
So you're moving like the Bachelor, so that's why people have that. They think.
Yeah. Absolutely. But it's flattering.
It is. That's dope. Like I wouldn't tell people.
We talked about that, like not telling people
though.
because. You know, because we connect and we operate as one unit already, it's just, it's already assumed. And I think from the first time we met each other, we never left each other's side. Well, we met each other before. Well, we'll get into that.
Hold up.
Actually,
I'm like that too. And my husband tells the story. I'm like, actually.
Yeah, first time we went on a date, we never left each other. But I forgot the question.
No, you're fine. So if you wanted to be married, like in your single lives, I should say. Yeah.
So it's funny. When I was younger, because I grew up in that environment, right? Like having healthy monogamous relationships was what I always searched for. But I would get in relationships and they wouldn't last. And I couldn't understand why. I mean, once going to therapy, validation issues and things like that came up. But I've always appreciated relationships. I've always appreciated kind of like being loyal and navigating with one person. And another aspect was I just don't have the bandwidth for multiple people. So it just works better. You said that, because I said it just works better because I'm already nuts. So it was just like other personalities I got to attend to it just never worked for me.
Right.
So I was once married and the relationship didn't work out for whatever reasons it didn't work out. And I told myself that I would never get married again. And I navigated like that for at least 2.5 years until I bumped into this one here. We reconnected because I was once a barber. I cut hair for a number of years.
Right.
And she was a client in the barbershop of one of the other barbers. And almost like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was on her, but she was not giving me no type of energy. She was not playing. But when I got a chance to, get her attention in that way, I just dropped everything because I knew then it was over. I was like, I'm getting married again. I found my wife.
The power of therapy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's how it kind of like played out. So for me, I think that to answer the question, I guess marriage has always been something that I value, the union. Until it was tarnished a little bit, but then when I reconnected with this one over here, Shantini, it definitely was like, oh, this is possible again.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say things like my parents, they didn't have the best of relationships, but I definitely saw love. Like I was telling my grandmother yesterday, I'm like, some of us are born like love children. We're born out of the love of the people that had us. And regardless if they're married or not, I knew I was that person. So I always just had this passion. It was just in me. I don't know why. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know why I'm like this, but I'm such a lover and like, I am. So I get that. I think it's when you see it and then it's there, it becomes realer to you when you're young, and then you could just work your way towards that as an adult, right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
For me, you just said you're a lover. I am a lover.
Yes,
like I love love. I am a lover. And so I think it was just something that was natural. My parents, their marriage has been interesting. And so I can't necessarily say anything.
I'm looking at T because I know she can relate.
Of how the blend happened.
We're gonna bring you back on that next podcast when we talk about that. Just you. Just you.
The Rolling Stone.
The Rolling Stone, and somehow ended with my mama and them.
Gotcha.
And I was creative.
Yeah.
But for me, I thought marriage was just something that I really just appreciated. Just people who were able to connect, like long-term relationships, and communicate and things like that. So that was just something sort of like hopeless romantic me.
Right.
Just sort of always, felt like I should have that.
Right.
I felt like I could do it. Like I knew how to love early on. It's really weird when I think about it. I'm like, I'm a giver, I'm a lover. I can look past flaw, just certain things that comes naturally to me.
Right.
And so I just, in my mind, connected that to marriage and being with a partner, forever or what have you. So that's where my marriage story comes from.
Okay. I think I'm the opposite. I started, but I'm gonna be frank. So I always believed in marriage. I didn't know where I fit into that. Because I know monogamy is not for everybody. And like you, Shantini, I dated people and I was like, oh, okay, I could do this. And then it just blew up in my face and I'm like, and so I got to the point where I was like, I don't need y'all. But I think that helped going through that period because now I'm at a place where it's like I'm able to date again. It's like I have the self-love, I have the self-confidence. I know I don't need them. So now if I choose to be married, it's something by choice, not something I felt like I had to fit into,
Right.
But yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. It is certainly a choice.
It is. And whether you subscribe to monogamy or not, everything in life should be a choice.
Yeah.
You should navigate any relationship that you're in by choice. And that's something I feel like we both appreciate because we've been in relationships where there was that need, right? It was just that thing to do. So when we entered into this, unbeknownst to us, we both were kind of like transitioning mentally and physically from other people. Right. We made the choice, and we continue to do that as we go along in our relationships. And then we give space for understanding that there's there's
levels to
it.
There is. Because I'm like, I'm thinking about myself. I'm like, wait a
minute. So, I mean, seeing at least your past, and you weren't married before, right, Shantini?
I have not been married before.
So
somebody told me they wanted to marry me, child, took me ring shopping, all kinds of stuff, and they had the room. Look, the wool pulled from the because you know what had happened after that.
What happened
after that? You had to pull the rug because I had to fall on my head so I could be picked back up.
That's right.
Get my life together, and then be open.
Right. So I mean, with the past that you've had and just the outlook, like what is the take on divorce? Like, I mean, obviously if you believe in marriage, you don't look for divorce, but what is the outlook on divorce?
Well, when divorce became an option, I started to look for it. So I'm a firm
I love
believer.
that actually, because I think I'm like that too. I'm like, I don't believe in divorce, but I might.
No, so
I don't know what can happen.
I'm not living a life like emotionally locked up. And this goes back to choice. Mm-hmm. If I tell myself that this is all I can give, and there's no more, then there's no more. And so I'm cool with divorce because I'm cool with understanding that things have a beginning and it has an end and everything, right? Like there will be an expiration date. One of us will not be here anymore physically. And that's an ending. And there's a beauty in that, but there's also beauty in being free from emotional turmoil and fighting and not trying to figure it out, whether that's between both parties or if one person is fighting for the other. I'm not going to do that. And when I decided to leave the relationship, people was just like, oh, well, how do you feel? Great. You mean? I was feeling bad when I was in it. So the fact that
true. Again, you made a choice to get divorced. So it's not like
absolutely. So I'm cool with divorce if you know that you have exhausted all possibilities. Yeah, so I know the Bible says something different, and I'm going to have to deal with that when I get there. But on earth, I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with right now.
Yes. But I appreciate that, though, because I think that's something, we talk about love and marriage and it's Valentine's Day, but we also have to talk about that. I feel like that fear of what if it breaks up? People don't even try, I'm like, what if it breaks up? You know what I mean? At least you had this great love story, whatever. And that's why I asked that question, because I'm like, it's important to talk about divorce and marriage. We had someone on our podcast, actually. Remember that lady that she basically wrote a book, became this whole new woman after her divorce, empowered her to be this, the sister circle.
Yeah, there was married for 20 years too.
20 years, a whole
you have to redefine yourself. So how did you feel moving from that? Did you feel like you had to redefine yourself, or did you feel like you were kind of getting back to yourself? Was it a reset kind of? How did you feel?
So it definitely wasn't a reset, but there were a lot of things lifted about who I was in the relationship that I never took ownership for. So, and that goes back to the validation. So at that time, I struggled in school. So a lot of it was rooted in me feeling like I wasn't enough. So I try to align myself with somebody who I thought, because they had a good job or they were in a field that I was trying to get in education. Those were the things that I was really attracted to. And then on my, me holding myself accountable, I seen the signs, right? I seen the signs of, mixed emotions in this person. And I kind of in my ego, said to myself, well, I can fix this person. I can help this person because I have this understanding about life. But it was really rooted in the fact that I wanted something out of it, and I got more than what I bargained for.
Right.
So in the relationship, not wanting to lose who I was, I said, you have to get out, and then you got to deal with you. And I took that time to deal with me. So after we split, I went back to therapy, kind of worked on some things about who I was and how I showed up in spaces, that imposter syndrome and things like that. And I just kept growing. And so Yeah, I hope I answered that question.
No, you guys are good. I just want to say really quick. No, we're super good. This is like one of the best podcasts I think we've had. But I just want to be time check. We've talking and laughing. We have like 20 minutes left before they cut the recording. So I just want to make sure.
No worries.
But when
I wanted to actually and to expound on the divorce thing. I think for me, whenever I think about divorce, obviously I haven't been married or haven't been divorced. And so, but one of the things I do go in when I think about the vows till death do us part, I constantly think about the fact that there can be a death in the relationship. Death is always usually considered like that literal part of, when someone is not physically here. But when I think about that vow, especially as something that we're going to make, to each other, I think about the fact that like there's a possibility that the relationship and the union and the things that we put into it could possibly die for whatever reason, and not to hold on to a situation that's dead, because that's just toxic.
Right. No, it's legit though. Like, especially I also share this with you guys here in the pandemic. Like me and my husband, we've been together for a long time. Frankie, you guys seen me probably when you see me on Instagram, you see me with him. Sometime, like literally this morning, he ran downstairs. I was here this morning prepping for this and whatever. And I'm like, what you, he came down, then he went back up. Then I went up and I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I just had a dream. I woke up and you weren't here. Like, I thought you left. And I'm like, but I've woken up times like in the pandemic where I'm like, and he's like, what the hell happened? I'm like, I don't know. I just had a dream like you died or something. Like, I don't, and it's really that. I don't know. I'm watching, listening to people talk about losing their loved ones, that whole hospital, it just plays on us. So it is something very real. Like, and I'm happy that you guys said that you do kind of need to detach a little bit because you go crazy. Like, so yeah.
It's important to consider that. I feel like a lot of people stay in, especially when you think of like your vow before God and things like, a lot of people stay in relationships that are dead.
That are dead.
It literally says, so death do you part. And I literally
like,
if I'm not physically here, but if I'm emotionally, if the relationship is emotionally dead.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I guess waking out of your sleep thinking that the person's dead means that you're still in major love. It's like, I thought you died, I don't know. Well, let's move on a little. When you brainstormed more about your podcast, when you brainstormed the name of your podcast and stuff, what other names were you guys like playing around with, if there were any other like names?
It was that. No, it was just that.
That was it.
Okay, it's like we're gonna make this podcast.
Dated my best friend.
Okay, cool.
We consider ourselves friends, and one of the things that we kind of went into, even like, especially now we're engaged to be married, things like that. We're like, oh, should we change it? We're like, no, because we're kind of always going to be dating. Like that's something that we're committing to make sure that like we keep this fresh.
And it tells your story now in a digital way, right? Because it goes from, and that's what people are going to probably most likely will pull from it, I would say. P, you have anything to add, or you come from more of the podcasting world than I do?
No, sometimes the name just comes to you. Like I'm with that. Like when I came to Perfect Perspectives, I was like, this is what I see. So I don't really care what y'all like. If you don't like it.
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a company. So the Life's a Bash Productions is a company that we were once throwing like events and things like that around like community and art. So, because both of our businesses kind of like took off simultaneously to us creating like a company together, we was just trying to figure out how we were going to still keep the voice, because a lot of our friends and people kind of like admired the synergy that we had with one another, aside from kind of like being intimate, just the way we would just show up in spaces. And a friend of ours, her best friend, Orly, shout out to Orly, we were just hanging out one day and we were just talking about, she was like, oh, well, what's going on with the events? And we were just like, oh, we just too busy. We was thinking about maybe writing a book about dating and things like that. And she was just like, why don't you start a podcast? And
it's like, so it's your friends like, why you didn't think about that? It's like, I don't know.
Like, oh, that's brilliant. We can start that like tomorrow instead of
and it's very like, I feel like podcasting, creating. I mean, you need to have, we're doing it like this. When it's just you and yourself, it's easy. You just jump up there,
y'all can really just like talking and then be like, hold on, turn the mic on.
Turn the mic on. Exactly.
And that's how it started. We were in our kitchen. iPhone. And now we upgraded. We go to the studio now. But in the beginning, we were just on our phone
in the kitchen.
And funny enough, today is actually the anniversary of our first episode. We started on Valentine's Day.
Oh, lit! Well, congratulations! We love that. We can make it to the next question.
Because you guys just said you guys did a lot of events and stuff for your business. So not only how has the coronavirus pandemic affected your business, but or if it has, how has it affected in your relationship in positive or not so positive ways?
I think
be honest. Rona hour. It's like what?
I'll take go ahead, pick one thing.
So in the beginning of the pandemic, it was lovely. And I gotta do this voice. I'm just kidding. In the beginning of the podcast, I keep saying the podcast. In the beginning of the pandemic, it was great. We were like in here dancing, we're not together. We painting.
You play the guitar.
I'm playing the guitar. He getting annoyed, like, oh my God, I bought you this guitar. I didn't think you were gonna be playing it day in, day out. Because I really want to learn guitar. It was great. And then I'll tell you what happened. So, like I said, I'm in that.
You didn't say right now. You got to do it.
What had happened was.
Like black people. What had happened was.
Just when the world slowly started opening back up. Like I said, I told you I'm an esthetician, skincare. So like my job requires me to be hands-on with people all the time. Yeah. And it was, our industry was legit like probably I feel like we were forgotten about. It was the last industry that, Governor Cuomo was like, okay, we can allow certain such and such and such. And so even with my industry open, the services that I provide, they were like, no, you can't. Right. And so with that, me not being able to get back out to work, and like he has been able to transition his whole life onto Zoom successfully from the beginning of the pandemic till now. So at first, I was being creative, trying to learn the guitar, me and my YouTube University, trying to learn my chords. So it was fun. But then when the world started opening back up, and I'm like, wait, I can't go back to work, and I got to hear him on Zoom all day. All day.
Right.
All day. I was just like, I'm tired of this damn pandemic. I need to work.
That's when you start walking in the room with the guitar, like.
Yeah, no, that's what she was doing. That's what she was doing. And then what happened was, so one of my friends came over, and he was like, yo, man, so how you and Shantini been doing through the pandemic? And I was like, man, we doing great. This is the best thing. We've been having all this good time. So she finally come home from I think you had just started
back going to work.
So my boy John was like, yeah, Shantini, Barry was telling me,
No, he didn't even say what he said. He was just like, how's it been going?
Yeah, he asked her the question. And she said, well, not so good.
Like, I'm so happy to be back out the house.
Me and John bust out laughing. He was like, well, I see the story changes around here. I didn't even know
different houses in here. That's good.
I didn't even know she was sick of me. I was just like, oh,
that's good though. Because
like, what happened? Yeah. He was like, that is
friend. Like, I think y'all got some stuff to talk about.
That's what he said. He said, I think I should leave.
Yeah, I have a communication moment right here. I'm out.
That's funny. Not from the beginning, but it was literally, he called me at that moment. I think it might have been my first week back to work. So I was just like, oh yes, I'm so happy to get out this house.
You had to get away from me so bad.
Definitely relatable. I feel like people feel like that about their kids, right? So just imagine, like, you get this kid to school, I don't care if they got the Rona. It's like people are there. So relationships, I get that. But I'm happy you guys are able to share that with us, our audience. P, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. Okay. So you guys have a podcast about relationships. You also do the coaching for people individually. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice do you give to single people, or what have you heard like through comments or from your audience that has been helpful for the single people that listen to your podcast?
That's really, I got some good questions.
Yeah, you do.
Feedback is essential.
Yeah. I think when you're navigating a relationship, when they say come with your whole self, I feel like, a lot of people don't really understand that. And it's like, when you come into a situation or a relationship with your whole self, you understand that you have things that you need to grow and don't expect the person that you're navigating this relationship with to be responsible for those things. And then when you do understand that you have things to grow, when you grow in, when you're triggered by those things, try not to take it out on the person that you're with. Acknowledge that the experience or what you're feeling, but a whole person understands both sides, appreciates both sides, and holds themselves accountable for both sides. And that's vice versa. That's either, no matter how you're navigating a relationship, both individuals need to fully understand that being whole is not just being aware, but it's also being accountable to what you create. And then my thought on it is like, be conscious of your impact. Be conscious of what you bring, the energy that you bring to a space. And if you know that the energy is not going to be conducive to like growth and possibility, then say that out loud, right? So that way the other person that's navigating a relationship with you has full context and understanding of where you are, so that way they can make a choice, and it kind of like goes back to choice. That's my take on it.
I agree. I told my husband that I'm like, I feel like emotional honesty is what it is in relationships, because it's like, I love you, my best friend, but it's like, if I don't know what's going on with you, don't think I'm gonna know. Like, if I don't tell you what's going on with me, I shouldn't just assume that you know. And I think that is important to say in relationship. You live in the same house and all that stuff. It's like, I don't know, you didn't even tell me, So
there's a saying, right? Like, don't expect me to put the puzzle together if you ain't giving me the pieces, right? So that's so important. I need to write that down.
That's good.
I think you got it right here. You look right, because like, questions are hard, nice long answer, beautifully prepared. I'm like, really?
It's so crazy too, because like, when we even talk about the different topics that we cover on our podcast, dating my best friend, we always stress that you are your first best friend.
Yeah.
And that's the lens that we always come from. So even to people who are single, on the dating prowl, married, like it kind of goes across the board, because we're really intentional about making sure that you are in tune with you first. So kind of piggybacking on like you being your whole self, because you can't, it'll be, not that you can't, it's very difficult to navigate healthy relationships if you haven't really tapped into who you are and understanding what you are coming with, so that you can be vocal about those different shortcomings, areas of opportunity for your growth, just space of where you are, right? To even say, okay, I don't need you to figure this out. Let me tell you what's going on, so that, I can share with you how best to support me in this. And so we always come from a lens of the individual self first. So we always stress the fact that, like, people be like, oh, half the bashes, and we're like, I ain't nobody's half. God didn't make me half of nothing. Like, no, even though they say I got the other like, no, I'm still a whole person. And so we come with the identity of like, you are whole first, and if you're not, then that's what you need to be working on.
Because I think that's a key in why a lot of people, I guess I'll say in some relationships, when it's dead, like you were speaking earlier, why they'll stay. Because it's like they feel like, well, what am I gonna do without this person? How am I gonna complete this? Or how am I supposed to feel whole and happy and all these things? Because they feel like half of it is, on the other person. So
absolutely.
I never would want to put that pressure on him to make me happy. No, like it's an accessory. It's nice that he wants to contribute to my happiness, but I would never put that responsibility on you. I just think it's unfair. It's really unfair to base your whole life and ask somebody to make you happy. Like, half the time they don't even know how to make themselves happy.
Absolutely.
It's just like, how can I expect you to do that for me without giving you some kind of context, which means that I have taken the time to figure out what makes me happy, whether you're here or not,
Definitely like a partnership stuff, and people need to see like that. And like I say, a partner, you got to write your name and then that person's name. Don't forget that it's your name too, It's like, you have a partnership. We don't do this together. I mean, we don't do this alone. We do this together, but we're also running separate entities. It's the same thing in relationships, it's like, so we totally get that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just like, the time check.
I know. I see it popped up. So
it did, right? Okay. We're good though. We're good. We have a lot of good stuff here. You guys dropped a lot of gems, so I'm happy.
I wanted to just, can I like plug a quick question in between?
We don't have to do the last one.
So because you guys had me think of something, because it's like, yes, we're whole people, and then we come together and we create a union between two people, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know how old everybody is here, but like looking at how they set it up, at least in this country, you know, it's Mr. and Mrs. whatever the man's last name is, right? You know, the woman kind of become like, we're expected to kind of come up under and into the male's family as far as at least the way it looks, right? Mm-hmm. So do you feel like in a sense we kind of have to redefine that part of marriage too, and moving forward for people to create healthier relationships? Or
that's a really good question.
Amazing.
You
question.
Really just chin checked me.
Especially since we've been having this conversation about me hyphenating.
Yeah,
hyphenating. I'm about to say I am hyphenating. Like, I'm married, but I have a hyphen last name. I didn't just throw away my last name.
Like, oh, you want to hyphenate? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a hyphenate.
Right. Like, my name, I got value on my name too.
Like, really like my last name.
So, but all fairness, I'm not opposed to her hyphenating. It's just banter. It's really banter. Because her name is dope, Shantini Eileen. It really sound too good.
Weird,
right?
It wouldn't sound good for her brand. So I'm not opposed to it, but just because this is just what we do. Yeah,
ego.
Like you're not gonna take my last name. But to the point, it makes me think of a conversation that I had on Clubhouse. And talking about like submission and what does that truly mean? So like that idea of the woman's last name kind of like coming up under a man. So I don't know so I hear your point as far as like Western civilization, like social construct, as far as gender roles. I think the only thing that I may say is like and biblically, if you believe, you know what I mean, in God, like Christianity and so on and so forth, right? It's not, and I think that's that negative context from Western civilization. It's not that you're coming up under your spouse, or if you're in a heterosexual relationship, it's not that you're coming up under your man, right? When you think of submission, right? The opposite, the word that's in there is mission, and a mission means an assignment. So the sub means to do together, right? Like you are coming in to add to what's happening. So if you're in a relationship and whoever decides to take whoever's last name, if their mission is, if they're not on the mission, if there's no alignment in the mission, then don't follow, right? Like don't submit to that mission, because you're going to die, right? And it goes back to the metaphor of dying. So I think that people look at the sub aspect, right? And they hold on to that part of it. And that is because of what we've been seeing from, white fragility, white men feeling it.
Right. I'm like, that also comes from our slave mentality too. Is that ownership thing? We think names mean something they don't, like, I mean, they do, but this is where it comes from.
Like, we go with the connotative meaning of it because we see what we see, and it's like, be submissive. So Black folk, we don't want to be submissive to nothing. We don't want to be submissive to our parents. Right. We don't want to be submissive to learning. We don't want to be submissive to a lot of things, because that word has been
history. And as a Black woman, I'm fed up. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm like, you want me to do what again? No,
no, I can't. I'm not doing it. That is definitely Ashley's whole vibe. It's like, I can't.
Yeah, you're right. So if you're gonna sign up for the mission, right? If you need to make sure that the person that you with who's saying follow me, I got this, their mission is on point. Their mission has a reason to it. Their mission is not destroying other people, so that way you can make the choice, again back to choice. Okay, I'm gonna follow in this, and I'm gonna add to it. So
I like that. I like that a lot, because as a Black woman, you be like, submit to who, right? Because again, it definitely has that negative connotation.
You don't have to take their name either, though. There's a question also on the forum. Just to let you know.
Exactly.
It's a choice that you made. I was gonna go back to what Barry was saying. It's a choice. It's like, do you want to change? You could change both your names. Right. You could just pick another last name.
Yeah.
Maybe more people start doing that.
I think to Perky's point, though, it's like the Mr. and the Mrs.
The Mr. and the Mrs. So that I get it.
Mrs. loses her identity.
I feel like that. I mean, I understand that part.
Yeah. So it's like, if we really understand, like in any mission, right, there's many leaders, right? Like everybody has a role, everybody has something to do. I don't necessarily subscribe to, you know, Western civilizations like constructs like femininity and masculinity, right? Like all of those things to me are dangerous dialogue. I believe in humanity, and that comes with a set of rules to it that we all need to show up and we all need to, you know, respect and things like that. So we deal with each other not from a man or woman perspective, but we deal with each other from a human trait. It's just like, if I know that I deal with emotional issues. I know she has emotional issues. So I'm not going to say like you are a combative, angry black woman. Yeah, or you being too emotional, because that means that I'm being too emotional. So that's how we kind of like operate. Yeah. So it gives her power, it gives me power, so that way when we come together, it's just electrifying.
Right. Ooh, electrifying. About to burn it up.
I was like, I don't even got nothing to say. That was a really good. I love that. I love that. Yeah.
But yeah, so we definitely have to
align with your mission. So I'm aligning with your mission. That's why I said yes. Yeah, I do. I believe absolutely in what you set forth. I believe in what you set forth individually. I believe in the support that I know you'll give me to my individual dreams, and what we'll do collectively.
Cut this camera off, girl.
I'm about to end the damn car. I'm like, all right, cut the mic.
We got a bun in the oven, so we can't make two, but we have a whole lot of fun.
I guess so. Then should we end it on the?
Yeah, no, I was going to say we need to wrap it because then we have too much to that. Yeah. But go ahead, P. You can wrap it up.
Oh, okay. So yeah, T thought it would be great for us to end the episode on some love quotes. So I found mine because, as I said earlier, I've just began like re-emerging back into the dating world after finding a lot of myself. And so mine was from Zora Neale Hurston. And she said, "Love makes your soul crawl out from its hiding place."
Love that.
I'm gonna go because there's one that there's one that I love. I love.
I'm gonna go with ours. And ours is we're just two dope souls trying to figure it out.
Love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share a Maya Angelou one that I like to always go back to. It's like, have enough courage to trust love and one more time and always one more time. You know, like don't never give up on love in your life. That's like that thing. Maya said that.
Okay, so this is actually one of my favorite quotes. It may be a little like grim, but I think it's very empowering at the same time. And it speaks to the fact that we talk about like relationships being dead and things like that, and when known to move on. And this is by Tahyira Waheed, and she says, "Someone can be madly in love with you and still not be ready. They can love you in a way you have never been loved and still not join you on the bridge. And whatever their reasons, you must leave, because you never ever have to inspire anyone to meet you on the bridge. You never ever have to convince someone to do the work to be ready. There is more extraordinary love, more love that you have never seen out there in this wide, wild universe. And there is a love that will be ready."
That's how we leave it. That's beautiful. Let's say the name of the person who's quoted this again one more time.
Tahyira Waheed.
Okay, cool.
My favorite quote. Got me for a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. It's Valentine's Day. I know everybody got stuff to do. I got brunch waiting on me. I gotta get into it. Enjoy. P, I know you got something going on in Jamaica.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I'm in Jamaica, y'all.
I'm jealous.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, the weather is crappy here in Brooklyn, so
the same every day out here.
Send us some sand and sun.
But yeah, so hashtag Black Love, everybody. Hashtag, being happy and self-love. Please follow everybody's podcast here. We got the For Us Nations on the ground level. We have the bashes. I'm dating my friend, or dating my friend podcast, and we have my perspective. So please follow, listen, subscribe, comment, rate, share everything. Apple Podcasts, Google Play,
everywhere,
nominate, everything. And we look forward to hearing about your love stories. Please share, tag us in any
photos. Tag us in anything. Make sure you tag the bashes and anything you hear. You guys see, we're Black empowerment. We're all out here. Just make sure you guys know you're not alone, whatever you got going on. Happy V-Day.
And happy Black History Month.
And happy Black History Month.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
All right, ladies.
Bye, guys.
Later.